was good, and I like it because it was real.
Okay, now poor Mick has a very tough act to follow. We completely screwed this up, didn't we?
I was just going to say,
We
I
completely
might as well
screwed
go
this up.
home. It's a very hard act to follow. But
Let's
I
go
could,
on tour together.
Okay, but this is why.
but I
Show
could
here.
start by saying that Sam said a joke about a judge there before, and the kid. I quite clearly remember our joke in the police was always the young fellas before the court. The jury found him guilty of murder, and the judge said, "Stand up." And the young kid stands up, and he said, "You've been convicted of murder. Is there anything you wish to say?" And the kid turns around and he says, "Fuck all, Your Honour." And the judge turned around to his article clerk and said, "What did he say?" He said, "Fuck all, Your Honour." He said, "I could have sworn he said something." I don't think I can keep up with them, mate. I'm sorry. I'll get down to a serious note.
You're doing pretty well, though. I'm impressed. Well, I have to say, as an American, I was at a little bit of a disadvantage reading your book for a couple of reasons.
You
Partly
don't have
because-
corruption in America.
No, that's not one reason. Well, mostly I had trouble following all these places in Queensland, and you know, I had the map out. I was trying to find all these places. But one thing that really interested me, Mick was born in Sicily, and his family immigrated to Australia when you were 9. And what year was that?
1954.
But
Could we do the maths?
Hang on there. Yeah, no, I was born in Sicily in 1945, and
Right.
in 1952, Dad, with my younger brother, the second brother, migrated to Australia as they did those days. The father had come across first, have a look, see if it was a good place to move into, I suppose. And 2 years later, Mum, myself, and the youngest of the brothers, we came over here on a ship 31 days, and I think that's the worst 31 days of my life. Sitting on a ship at 9 years of age, and it was terrifying. You know, it was the most terrifying trip I've ever had in my whole life.
And then your family encountered a fair bit of racism, it sounds like. And you and the police force encountered a fair bit of racism.
Well, in the 50s, and looking around here, there might be some people who know what I'm talking about. In the 50s, it was pretty hard. You came from a strange country, you didn't speak English, so you went to school, all the kids could speak the language, and I was in grade 3. I moved up from grade 2, I went straight to grade 3 because I was 9. And it was hard to learn to speak English, and when you went home, you spoke back to your dialect, the Sicilian dialect, so you couldn't ask your mum and dad to help you because they couldn't help you. So it was very hard, but at school you copped all this from the kids, you know, your dago, your what. You don't play cricket in Italy, you don't play football, you play with a round ball. Today soccer's the best game in Australia, I believe. But those days, soccer, you couldn't have a soccer ball because you were a queer. Or you couldn't wear a gold chain around your neck, which I did as a kid. Because Auntie Fairies wore gold chains. But today, I think every man and his dog wears a gold chain, you know, so there's your difference of coming into the country and how hard it was to grow up.
Right. Well, even in the police force, there's a really interesting scene in your book where you get these nasty notes frequently in your typewriter saying, "Go back to Italy, Wog." And the equivalent of a TCN, a cleaning lady named Carmela, the cleaning lady, offers to help you out here. Find out.
Actually, it was quite funny. I just going to Camilla. About 5 years ago, after I retired, I'm at an Italian function, and there's Camilla. She's about 75, and she comes over and claims me, and gives me a hug and a kiss, the old Italian style, one on each cheek, and gives me a big hug. And she calls her husband over, introduces me to her husband. And it was quite funny because she said to her husband, "This is the man I told you I used to work for." She never worked for me. I just used to ask her to give me information what was going on in the office.
Tell us that part of the story.
And the part of that was that the Queensland Police Service and any other service, I think they employ mostly foreigners, Greeks, Italian, Yugoslavs, to do the cleaners. And she was a cleaner. She spoke Italian. I thought, well, I'm having trouble in the office here because the $100 that was coming from graft and corruption in the state of Queensland, I didn't accept. So as a result of that, I started getting mail that I didn't expect to get, like, "You're not wanted, I wouldn't get involved in work, and why go home, we don't want your kind here." So I was struggling to find out who was doing it. So I thought if I asked the cleaner that she's going to work for me, and she can tell me in Italian each day what happens. That'll be great. And so that's what happened. I recruited her as an informer. But she obviously told her husband she was going to work with Mr. Cacciola. And that's how I recruited my first cleaner.
Well, I have a lot of other questions. Actually, I have a couple more questions I want to ask, and then quickly open this up. The amount of illegal drug use that goes on in Sam Cutler's book
Shocking.
is truly
Absolutely
shocking.
shocking.
It's truly shocking. And
You should arrest him.
well,
Right now.
this is where the cop
Been
and the
there,
band
done
manager
that.
is sort of odd. And it seemed like you.
We used to say, support your local police, beat yourself up.
This is to me one of the great mysteries of your book, though. How you managed to keep everything going when generally, how to put this,
You're
you
off
were
your-
not in
off
a
your
sober
head.
state. How did you do? And you also you point out, with regret about some of the musicians you know who unfortunately had addiction problems. Seemed like everybody in the whole operation. Well, I don't want to
yeah.
pass judgment, but how did you manage
You
this?
sound like my mother. My mother used to say to me,
I
why
called
do
you Mr.
people
Cutler,
take
too.
drugs? I don't understand why they do this. Why are they necessary? I never made value judgments, basically. I've always accepted the world as it is. I'm not in charge of it, I mean, people misbehave chronically on all kinds of levels. Nonetheless, there's a job of work to be done here, you know what I mean? I'm sure, the same thing happens in the police force, the military, everything. There's actually, you're aiming to achieve something. I think there's a popular misconception about drugs. Drugs aren't necessarily counterproductive. They can be. The wrong drugs at the wrong time, definitely counterproductive, The wrong combination of drugs can kill you. But there's plenty of things that one can do in life and be under the influence, as it were, and manage to achieve it. I don't recommend, flying aeroplanes on LSD. It's not a particularly good idea. But you might have quite a lot of fun standing in a field listening to a band and being, very high where you wouldn't drive a car, whatever. So all I'm saying is there are appropriate medications, as it were, for different things.
Why do you keep saying all this controversial stuff in front of this audience that will clearly disagree with you?
Because we're in Byron.
Byron Barty.
No, but I mean, for myself, if you're the kind of person of last resort, which a tour manager tends to be, if somebody's like dying, they come to see me. Like, he's passed out. What do? We shove ice cubes up his bum. Which, believe it or not, for all of you here, if anybody ever passes out from a drug overdose, believe me, the way to deal with it is to take their underwear off and shove ice cubes up their bottom.
Well, you heard.
Believe me, it works. Believe me.
Or give them another tablet.
Yeah, I'll give him another one, right. But no, I never inhaled myself. Because, I had to be responsible and take care of things, so I always did half of what everybody else did, so at least there was somebody that could, respond.
Well, that is this odd contradiction that comes through in this book, is that Sam Cutler is an incredibly responsible person in the middle of all of this chaos.
Yeah, but you're paid to be responsible as a tour manager.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Everybody else, can be as fucking irresponsible as they like. They're the musicians, they're whatever. Nowadays, not so much. I mean, if you work for the Rolling Stones nowadays, you sign a contract if you're an equipment guy, whatever. There's no drugs, no alcohol policy on their tours, but that don't apply to the band. You know what I mean? So if you're dealing with the band, they're irresponsible. People become musicians.
Yeah.
Why? Women, fun, excess, and all that. So, it's part of life, man. You know what I mean? It's what you deal with. So you can't really deal with that and to be crude about it. You can't be completely, off your tits yourself. It just doesn't work. Somebody's got to be, know where we're going to.